It's time for Supply Chain Now Radio, broadcasting live from the supply chain capital of the country, Atlanta, Georgia. Supply Chain Now Radio spotlights the best in all things supply chain. The people, the technologies, the best practices, and the critical issues of the day. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey, good morning. Scott Luton here with you live on Supply Chain Now Radio. Welcome back to the show. We are coming to you once again today from the AIAG SCAC Supply Chain and Quality Conference in North Charleston, South Carolina. This conference is dedicated to the world of automotive. And we've been meeting with many of the leading industry thought leaders that have been participating here over the last day and a half. So, but first, big thanks to our conference broadcast sponsor, the Effective Syndicate, for making our coverage possible. The Effective Syndicate helps companies win by optimizing process and developing winning cultures. You can learn more at theeffectivesyndicate.com. Quick programming note, like all of our series on Supply Chain Now Radio, you can find our replays on a variety of channels: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever else you find your podcast. As always, we'd love to have you subscribe so you don't miss anything. So let's welcome in our esteemed co-hosts here today. We have Mr. Greg White, a regular co-host at Supply Chain Now Radio, and a serial supply chain tech entrepreneur and trusted advisor. Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Seems like we've been talking a lot about cereal lately, but
we have. But it's true in your case, right? You can't shy away from a wide variety of successful entrepreneurial ventures.
As I've told many people, I'm not an entrepreneur because I'm exceptionally talented. I am an entrepreneur because I am otherwise unemployable. So.
That was a good one. Let's steal that one. Also, say hello to Bo Groover, founder and president of the Effective Syndicate and co-host of our Leadership Matters series here on Supply Chain Now Radio. Bo, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Good morning, everybody.
We had a great day yesterday. I think we did 7 interviews, and all of them covered different aspects of what's going on here. A lot of it was related to automotive, a lot of it was related to the in supply chain. And while we were worn out heading back to the hotel last night, what a great day of inspiring thought leadership, I thought.
I agree. I think, we learned a lot of different angles. I think a lot of people think of supply chain as that one thing, right? But there are a lot of different angles: cybersecurity, customs, trade policy, ports and trucks, and just everything. Also, we learned a little bit about generational transition, and I have a newly upbeat view of the future after talking to Micah Malice from South Carolina Ports. That's a very talented young man.
It is true
and passionate, and that was I think one of my other interests. When we do 10 episodes or 10 interviews in a single day, we don't always get a consistent level of passion. But every single person that sat in these chairs yesterday was loving what they were doing and knew their why. I thought that was really intriguing. And I think we're going to continue with this session here today. We've got
no pressure.
Well, we've got a repeat guest that we really enjoyed meeting or having on the show several months back up at the Upstate. Now we're down here in Charleston. So Suzanne Dickerson, Director of Logistics at the South Carolina Council on Competitiveness, also known as SC Competes. Good morning, Suzanne. How you doing?
Good morning. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Great to have you back. Really enjoyed you hosting us up at ICAR up in the Upstate. Probably about
early this year,
a while back. Yeah, early this year. That's right. Yeah. Yep. Had a great conversation with our friend Chuck
Baker.
Absolutely, Chuck Baker, longtime supply chain volunteer leader at APIX and ASCM leader, and enjoyed our conversation there. And we've got 2 great guests today. So we'll also welcome Maureens Woolshlager, Business Development Executive with Vector Global Logistics. Maureen, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've enjoyed. Have you enjoyed? This is your first conference down here as well?
Yes, it is. And my first time on the radio, too.
Well, hey.
You're doing great so far.
Thanks.
You are in good hands. A lot of kindred spirits around this table. And I think there's a lot of neat stories and neat initiatives that we're going to share. So, Suzanne and Maureen, welcome. Great to have you back on the show. All right. So with that said, Suzanne, we want to put you on the spot first. Tell us more about yourself and your background that led, your journey to leading to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you. So I am not only here today because I'm on the board of the South Carolina Automotive Council, but I'm a 20-year automotive veteran, and once you get that in your blood, you don't get it back out. So even though we're focused on SC logistics and supporting the robust logistics economy of South Carolina, you can't do that here in our state with 3 OEMs without being focused on the automotive industry, just like aerospace, Mm-hmm. So South Carolina, by I think any measure, has been wildly successful in recruiting world-class companies to come and do business here. About 3.5 years ago, we also recognized that we need to have a team of people waking up every day thinking about how do they move their goods in, out, and across the state, right? And so the timing is great. We're investing $2 billion. I'm sure Micah talked about this yesterday, in port infrastructure, new inland ports, expanding inland ports, deepening and widening the Charleston harbor. And so then there's a team of us at the Council on Competitiveness that are thinking about what else do we need to do to help the logistics companies in the state, because all of that's critical. It's really the backbone, I think, of what makes doing business in South Carolina great for automotive and aerospace companies.
Absolutely. And last time you were on the show, you talked about how just a few years from now, how much more logistics infrastructure and providers are going to be needed here in the state, right? Due to all the growth.
Yeah. No, so, when we look at the writing on South Carolina's wall, we're expected to move at least 60% more freight in 2040 than we do today. Wow. And so that's the thing that we think about every morning when we wake up, and how are we going to do that? I'll talk a little bit more about, we think technology for sure plays a role in that. But, we need to make sure that the companies that are in the logistics industry here, existing logistics companies, are getting what they need. And in some cases, like, DHL and others who are coming to the state newly for the first time, really with a big investment in Dorchester County, real close to here. That's all it's going to be part of the success story.
So before we shift back over to Maureen and kind of get her story and learn more about Vector, what else, what makes SC Compete so unique as it relates to the mission and the offerings? And how does your role play into that?
Yeah. So I think there really isn't anything quite like the Council on Competitiveness, where we have business-led industry cluster initiatives in partnership with state agencies. So, for example, in the SC Logistics organization, we not only have a number of private sector partners, both on the supplier, shipper, and carrier side, but 3 state agencies: the state of South Carolina Port Authority, the South Carolina Department of Transportation, and the South Carolina Department of Commerce. And so you have all these people at the table on a regular basis talking about what's really going on. The Trucking Association, we shouldn't forget, by the way, it's National Truck Driver Appreciation Week,
yes, it is.
right? And so you're not discussing what needs to be done in any kind of a vacuum, right? You have everybody at the table that you need to have to be able to move things forward quickly and effectively. And I think that's a distinguishing factor for the Council on Competitiveness.
Agreed. And for as long as we have been collaborating on different things and learning more about SC Competes, I love the practical nature of what y'all are doing. There's so many groups that are not throwing stones at anyone else, but we love practical application of things that work and help really meaningfully drive growth in South Carolina and elsewhere. Okay, so let's talk about, Maureen, let's talk about your background and your journey into where you are today.
Okay, well, I started a long time ago in McMaster Car Supply Company. I worked for them. Some people have heard of them. They're
absolutely
quiet,
well known.
Yeah.
Pretty good size.
Yeah, well, they are, but they're really quiet and private. So a lot of times, people haven't heard of them. And I transitioned into supply chain logistics consulting, and I did that. And I worked for a small company for a while and had some really phenomenal projects, mainly in the food and restaurant industry. Then I took a break. For a little bit. I had some kids and lived in Europe for a little bit. And when I came back, I was able to find Vector, and it's a phenomenal company to work for. We do, we're a small NVOCC. We do importing, exporting. If you have 1 box or 1 container or 100 containers, we can help you get that in and out and help you with the whole process. But it's a really great company to work for, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
And Vector's doing doing it globally, right?
Yeah, all over the world we do, not just in and out of the United States. Yeah. So
now, as it relates to your role, what do you love most about what you do at Vector?
I love that really I have control over, my own schedule and who I want to work with. So when I seek an opportunity, I have free reign to go and try and pursue that opportunity. I'm not given a directive on that as to who I should work with, or who I can only work with big companies or only work with the largest, big box retailer. We do a lot of work with NGOs and nonprofits, and we work with companies large and small, and we do a segment of their business or maybe all of it. So I like the ability to go and choose who I work with and really pursue that and have that freedom to develop those relationships.
We had a good fortune to have dinner with you. Me and Greg had dinner with you the other night down here as we got here in town for Charleston. And what I loved about what you were sharing is that you really look for those cultural fits, right?
Yeah.
The companies that are doing business the right way, that's one of your short priority items when you're kind of figuring out who to work with, right?
Yeah, we do. We like to partner with companies who kind of share our vision to give back, and that manifests itself in a lot of different ways. So I personally developed a list of companies that I want to go and try and pursue and work with because they share our values in that way. And so I'm working on that slowly.
That's a pretty unique level of freedom. I mean, in a job, right? To be able to do that. That's cool.
It's a really great work culture we have. Like when we were at dinner the other night, we were talking about when you work in a unwelcoming or toxic work culture, you really notice it and you really dread going to work. And Vector is really. I don't feel that way about it.
We're big fans.
Yeah.
We have
you guys
Vector
have heard of us,
Global
right?
Logistics tattooed.
I know you do.
So real quick, and we want to share why we're big fans of Vector. But I know you're a big culture guy and you love cultural stories. Weigh in on what you just heard, Maureen. There, how neat is it if you're Enrique or if you're part of leadership team at Vector to hear an ambassador for the culture they have?
It's fantastic. I mean, I think the leadership principle is always the leader or leadership team should define what's important and why it's important, and then they ought to get the heck out of the way and let people go do it. And what you're describing is you've got a lot of leeway, a lot of freedom to say, hey, here's my target, here's my clients, here's why I'm going to go make this happen.
Right.
And because of that, it's a self-driven energy instead of I'm pounding on you to go hit your number and make your calls and reach your target. So it's music to my ears. I'm excited to learn more about that.
Have you heard of the book Why Work Sucks?
I have not.
Okay, we have to read it, and it just talks about it's like a performance-driven, a results-oriented culture, and so it's you really appreciate and want to work when you go into work because you're focused and you're not distracted with other things that are going on. So if it's in the middle of the day and you have to go do something, I don't feel like there's this sideways glances or worry about what my colleagues are thinking or what I'm doing. It's like, nope, I'm going to go do my run right now, or I'm going to go volunteer at my kid's school. But, I'm able to focus on that. But then when I go into work, wherever that is, at home, in the office, at a coffee shop, with a customer, I'm focused on that and I'm not feeling like I should be doing something else. Yeah. So it's a really good book, and we read it so we can kind of have that way as we approach our day.
Great.
So, really neat company, Vector Global Logistics. Our studio is hosted by Vector in West Atlanta at the King Plow facility, which is it's like testimony to the circular economy.
It is.
So, more folks need to be aware of King Plow in Atlanta and regionally, because I think it really serves as a model for repurposing really character architecture. I mean, you know what I mean?
It's a great environment, right? The King family, who started the King Plow Company in 1902, they still own the building, and it has transitioned to an event space, work-live space, office
successfully.
Space. Yeah, quite successfully, and it's a great environment. It's very energizing, right? And a great restaurant.
Yes.
The best empanadas in Atlanta. All right, and that's station side. Sorry,
it's not our personal kitchen.
This is an unpaid endorsement.
We have no connections other than I love eating their empanadas. Okay, so let's get kidding aside. Let's get back. And Suzanne, there's several things that your team is working on and driving and leading that we really we love, and we believe that more groups like yours, coast to coast, if not globally, but certainly coast to coast, need to take on some of these projects. But let's start with the easier stuff. So you're here today. This is our first time at the AIAG SCAC event here in North Charleston. I think this is our third year of doing that as a partnership. What have been some of your key takeaways so far?
So I've loved the diversity of the agenda. Yesterday we had everything from, educational and workforce best practices from some of South Carolina's, companies that are doing business here in both rural and urban areas. Some of these were phenomenal. I don't know if you guys heard for example, the Scheffler program, where they're paying for people to work and go to school, for the first 2 years, full-time employees. I mean, that is a phenomenal best practice. It reminds me of things I saw when I lived and worked in Germany.
Yes.
That's a very German, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, the duales system, right?
Yep.
It's great to see those kinds of things come here. I also thoroughly enjoyed the discussion about from the gentleman from Volvo Cars, who are one of our SC Logistics partners, talking about their supply chain and how important some of their new strategies are going to be for all of the expansion and the big visionary plans that they have, going forward, and how the supply chain for automotive is really changing, right? It's not just your component suppliers anymore. Today it is, Silicon Valley and Apple and Google and Microsoft and everybody else. And, we were looking at the future, right? I felt like we were getting a glimpse into the future. And then, kind of rounding out the day yesterday, the discussion about the new Trident Tech Centers, Aeronautical Training Center, both for aerospace and automotive, right? I think everywhere you look, what I walked away last night out of here thinking, everywhere you look, somebody's doing something great in the state to try to, make sure that we have the talent that we're going to need in the future and the kind of companies in the supply chain for the industries that are doing business here. It was really a nice way to walk away. You kind of, leave the room with a smile on your face.
Absolutely. Good news. And speaking of Volvo Cars USA, Kyle Hooper was on the show here yesterday, and 1,500 folks that they are currently employing, and they're going to grow to 4,000 just around the corner, right?
With the launch of the next line, the next car. Amazing story. And that's great. That's what a successful win, not just for the state, but regionally.
That's right.
So that's neat to see. So beyond this week's event, Suzanne, y'all have got a slew of events coming up, but in particular, the Logistics Tech Talk that's back down here in Charleston in October. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mentioned earlier the writing on our wall with the 60% increase in projections of freight movement in 2040. So what we know is you're going to need to have technology solutions to help you get there, right? And we feel like, part of our mission has been to highlight and feature what some of those trends are for our logistics economy here. So 3.5 years ago, we started thinking about, what if we just did a dedicated event on technology solutions for logistics? And that became so popular that this year we had to actually do 2. We had a lot of requests and some demand to also do one in the upstate, which we did back in June. But we still love partnering with the International Trade Conference, which starts on October 21st this year with the State of the Port Address. And then a great program that's been put together by that organization. And we've been bookending that the last 3 years. So we hope to, have Supply Chain Radio now be with us.
We do too.
There again. And, it's going to be a great event. I mentioned DHL coming to the state and coming to this region, actually. They will be providing the keynote that day. Actually, with 3 people, a little trifecta keynote, which I think is very cool. We have Volvo Trucks coming, talk about some of their truck platooning. We'll have FedEx talking about some of their new electrification strategies. And then we'd love to feature startups that are in the technology space out of South Carolina. We have 2 of those. ShipChain out of Greenville, which is focused on blockchain technology solutions for shipping and logistics. And then you can't do anything without thinking about talent, right? So we have a company that's using artificial intelligence for predictive hiring for logistics companies, and they're going to demo their technology. So, we feel like we're really hitting, the technology, trade, talent, transportation, all of the major trends that are going on in logistics today. So you won't want to miss that. please see us. We'll be at the Gaillard Center with the trade conference.
October 23rd.
October 23rd.
That's right. And for folks that are interested in registering, they can go to your URL. Correct?
That's right, which is sclogisticsindustry.com.
Fantastic. So before we get back with Maureen and talk about some of the things, some initiatives that they're leading at Vector, we want to talk about a special project that we were talking in the warm-up that we have collaborated on previously, and that is the supply chain awareness programs you are doing in schools in South Carolina, which is like taking off like hot fire.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you, Scott. A couple of us road tripped to Georgia last year and looked at the supply chain 101 game that you were rolling out for 4th and 5th graders there, and we loved it so much. We said, that's a great thing we should be doing in our state as well. And so SC Logistics has really picked up that ball and run with it from a organizational point of view, but we couldn't do what we're doing in the schools without some of our private sector partners. Michelin sponsored the last ones we did in the upstate. Continental will be sponsoring those in the fall, and in the spring. And this fall, the Maritime Association is sponsoring. I think we have 6 or 7 schools lined up between now and the end of the year where we will be rolling out with professionals, supply chain professionals who are taking time out of their busy day to come and spend time with 4th and 5th graders, introducing them to supply chain. And it is so fun and so rewarding to see their eyes light up and go, oh, it's not just, ordering something from Alexa, but what happens after I order it from Alexa? How does it get to my front door? It's been great. And so, thank you for the collaboration and the partnership on that.
You bet. And it is great to hear. And evidently, I understand that hot fire is not a phrase, it's wildfire. And I want to do it justice because it really, the amount of traction y'all have gotten in such a short amount of time.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm, the research team. He keeps me on my toes. And that's a tough job. But the amount of traction y'all have had in such a short amount of time and the amount of folks that are wanting to help out by going into schools, and then the folks like Michelin and Continental and the Maritime Association to get behind these efforts. This is exactly what, this is what makes, I believe, supply chain really rewarding, and the things that you learn from the students. I mean, that's what we've learned in Georgia as we've gone into some of these schools. We thought we were going to be sharing with them, but no, we're the ones learning. It's very, very interesting project. But kudos to all the success y'all have had. 7 schools between now and end of the year on top of what y'all have already done. Great to hear. And so how can folks, if they want to help and get involved, whether it's volunteering or supporting the effort in maybe their local county or what have you, just reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they go to the website, sclogisticsindustry.com, they can either reach out to me directly or to our new deputy director, Taylor Jackson, who's Charleston based. And she's really just taken off with the low country schools, and we couldn't be happier. South Carolina is a relatively small state, but it still takes a lot of doing, right, to get with the schools. And kudos to the schools for being, open to having us come in and kind of take their kids away for an hour and a half and talk to them about supply chain. But they're all really open to it. And you're right that the kids know so much more than you think they know when you go in there. They want to talk about cybersecurity. You're like, yeah, let's talk about that. We need you in that business.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and we should give a high five to Chuck Baker. Chuck Baker, he was an early adopter. He's been working with the Pennsylvania Free Enterprise Week for like 20 years, going up there talking business with, I think, high schoolers.
That's right.
So he is very passionate about giving back, and Chuck and Suzanne are quite a 1-2 punch here. So looking forward to having y'all back on and kind of hearing how the program evolves and as you engage more and more students. So
yeah, we'd love to come back.
Absolutely. All right. So Maureen, along those same lines, Vector is also very active in community and in industry and doing things beyond just doing business. It's a key part of the MO. So tell us more about one of your favorite projects that you've been involved in.
One of my favorite projects that I was involved in, I really like to run. I'm I don't know if you say I'm passionate about it, but I'm interested in it.
You're going to run
think you're
18
passionate.
miles, did you say?
I think I have to do that tomorrow. I got to check the little Excel spreadsheet.
You better
Yeah.
be passionate about
Better
it.
you than me, for sure.
I'll be listening to the last 139 episodes of Supply Chain Radio podcast to get me through that tomorrow.
If I were running 18 miles,
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, exactly. Get them all done. Yeah, check.
That's funny.
But I really enjoy an active lifestyle, and so I partnered with Enrique, who you guys know, and we did a team building event in March in Atlanta, and we brought in most of our team from all over the place, about 25 of us, and they did the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon, and Vector brought everybody in, and we got matching shirts, and everybody got up in the middle, in the dark, took Marta in,
Wow.
and participated in it. And so that was certainly, they didn't have to. They enjoyed, some people really like just coming to Atlanta for the week too, but but definitely it was something that we believe in, letting each person kind of choose their own path and what
Yeah.
they want to do and how they want to give back. And so I think all my colleagues are happy. I think a couple of them thanked me for getting them out there in the middle of the night or in the middle of the dark to go run the race. But that was something that meant a lot to me, that our team was like, yeah, okay, we'll do that and we'll support that. So that wasn't necessarily giving back into specifically a charity or an organization, but it was kind of everybody giving back to themselves in a way to be out there. But
That's just one of the numerous things that you're involved in. Enrique's come on the show before a month or two ago, and from helping families fight cancer,
Yes.
especially
Right.
childhood cancer, to just a slew of
Special
things.
needs programs,
Yeah.
right? And then I think you also donate 100 meals for every container ship.
Yeah, we do,
Right.
and we do that through SERVE, the organization
Right.
SERVE. And I'll tell you, yesterday or the day before, our team in Atlanta all went out to Decatur and helped pack up a bunch of medical supplies that we were shipping for a customer to go to Africa. So we did it as a team building event, and so everybody carpooled out there. They helped the customer get the materials ready.
You didn't run out
prepare it.
there?
I did not. I was here. I think I was with you guys.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
running to Walmart at that point. But they all went out there and then participated in that, and then they went out to lunch, and then some people
that.
went home, worked from home, and then others kind of went back to the office. So it's a very, I don't want anyone to get the impression that we're not working hard, because we are at Vector, but we do.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
We
We'll
do
assure you
value
of
the opportunity to give back, and whatever your passion is, or however that is, to encourage your colleagues and your friends and family to do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really supportive of that.
One of the things that jumped out when you were talking about the organized group run, if you think about a healthy culture, it's not just you come into the office and it doesn't suck. Right. I mean, that's
Right.
kind of the bottom rung.
Yeah.
But it's holistic, and anymore with electronics the way they are, you can't separate work and life anymore. It's just it's a facade if you think you are. So incorporating that, I mean, I give you guys kudos because, look, taking care of yourself is an important part of our culture. Let's make that part of who we are, and here's a way that you can participate and do this as a group. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think especially with what we're doing, I mean, we're working with customers all over the world, so the expectation is not that I have my phone and I answer it at 3 a.m. if somebody from China calls me or anything like that. But certainly, it's difficult to get away from the electronics when we're working with with people all over the world because everybody's in a different time zone.
Sure.
And so to be able to step away and say, yep, I'm going to go volunteer at my kid's school right now, or I'm going to, we're going to go pack meals in the middle of the day, because I think they did it yesterday at, 10 or 11 in the morning. It afforded that opportunity. So then, everybody went back and hunkered down and caught up. It wasn't as though we just turned our lights off for the day. But I think everybody felt really great about what they did, and then gave them a renewed perspective going back to their desk.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's make sure folks can reach out and based on something they've heard, if they want to compare notes with one of y'all or have questions for one of your organizations. So Maureen, how can folks get in touch with you or Vector?
If they want to get in touch with us, if you're on LinkedIn, you can find us under Vector Global Logistics, or if you look under my name, you could link up with me, Maureen Woolshlager. give you an A+ if you can spell that. Or
I'm
also
try it right now.
there's no C. And then you can find us on Facebook. I'm harder to find on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I don't remember our handle at the moment because I'm not on there yet, but that's one of my tasks, I believe, Enrique gave me.
So
So
a wide variety of ways, including vectorgl.com.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, great. And Suzanne, I know, well, I'm just going to let you share. I think you shared South Carolina Logistics.
Industry.com.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
you
one
can
way.
find us there. You can also always look at the council website, which is sccompetes.org. And then, our Tech Talk is up. So if you just Google SC Logistics Tech Talk, you'll find this year's Eventbrite page. Please go there and register. We want to see you. You don't want to miss the program we're putting on October 23rd.
Absolutely. Sounds like a great one. And it's in Charleston.
That's right.
So it's what a wonderful reason to come back. Well, thanks so much to both of y'all. I appreciate what y'all shared here today, but also appreciate what y'all are doing in industry. So big thanks to Suzanne Dickerson, Director of Logistics at the South Carolina Council on Competitiveness, and Maureen Woolshlager, Business Development Executive with Vector Global Logistics. Thanks so much. All right, y'all sit tight for a second. We're going to wrap up on a couple other events that we've got coming up. And there's two we want to kind of take a little detailed view into. And the first one is coming up a week from today, Bo. Tell us about the 920 Executive Roundtable event.
Yes, so we're excited about it. Speaking of Emory earlier, we've partnered with an Emory professor named Robert Kazanjian, and he talks about strategic business work, so the elements of a good strategy. So we're partnering up with him. I'm going to co-host or co-keynote with him. He's going to be talking about the elements of a good strategy. I'll be talking about the elements of good world-class execution, and we're excited about it. So if folks are interested, I hope they will reach out to me or the Supply Chain Now Radio avenue.
Yep, you can shoot us a note to connect@supplychainnowradio.com, and we will send you more information. Okay, and Greg, coming up on October 9th.
Yeah.
What are we going to be doing?
Georgia Manufacturing Summit with our friend Jason Moss, right? It's going to be the 9th at Cobb Galleria. About 1,000 people from
991 exactly.
Exact what it is right now. Okay.
And counting.
So, well, I figure Alex will sign up shortly, and he's really good at getting people over the line when
can you
they have
bring
a
your
goal.
kids, add a couple extra there?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Numbers.
But anyway, representing some of the 10,000 manufacturers in Georgia and the companies that do business with them, so you don't have to be a manufacturer. But it's a really interesting group of folks, and we're going to be broadcasting live, and these two fellows here, Scott and Bo, are going to be conducting panels as well, right? So
Excited
we're going to
about
have some
that.
really interesting people on your panels, and then a couple of top secret guests on the show. We've got a couple of trade ministers from a couple of our foreign neighbors.
Yes,
so.
you've got a trick. You've got the more sensitive conversations you'll be leading than we do. What
If I told you, I think you all know what would have to happen.
So here's a kidding aside. Here's a really cool thing that the GMA has done. We all know, or if you've been listening to this show, you certainly know the challenges that our veterans face as they're transitioning out of active duty and looking for jobs in the private sector, or maybe they have transitioned out and they've just started working and they're building their professional network. Which, as a veteran, I certainly know firsthand that challenge. Jason Moss, CEO of the Georgia Manufacturing Alliance, has freed up 50 seats for free, no strings attached, for our veterans to come out and register. So if you're a veteran listening to this podcast, you can go to GeorgiaManufacturingAlliance.com and use the promo code. Go to the events tab, register for the summit. Use the event code USAVET, and it's going to be a free seat. And that is a very generous gesture that Jason of GMA did. He's a fellow Air Force veteran as well. And I admire stuff like that. That's deeds, not words. Okay, so we're going to be flipping the calendar a little bit. We're going to be in Austin in November at the 2019 Logistics CIO Forum, the Reverse Logistics Association Conference and Expo in Vegas in February, and of course MODEX 2020 in Atlanta in March.
And the Atlanta Supply Chain Awards as well.
Which they're hosting, which is fantastic. And by the way, MODEX is free to go to. They're expecting 35,000 folks, one of the largest shows supply chain trade shows in North America, modexshow.com. Okay, we have jammed a lot of great content in about 46 minutes. So we're getting under even our tech time.
It's a little bit less than that.
Yeah. Bo's got the clicker over here, stopwatch.
I'm still running the timer here.
Now we're going to have to tell people what tag time means, so just keep going.
That's the next episode.
Next episode. Yeah.
But to our listeners, be sure to check out other upcoming events, replays of our interviews, other resources at supplychainnowradio.com. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, all the leading sites where podcasts can be found. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Big thanks to Suzanne and Maureen for joining us here today. Greg and Bo, we're going to stick around. We're going to be continuing our coverage of the AIAG SCAC conference here in North Charleston. On behalf of the entire team, though, Friday morning, this is Scott Luton wishing you a wonderful weekend ahead, and we will see you next time on Supply Chain Now Radio. Thanks, everybody.